3 years ago, three white partners mocked Jade Clark's attempt to enter elite law. Now they came to her for help, and Jade took control, breaking the system that once rejected her. Jade Clark, a 29-year-old black woman, walked into the upscale law firm's office with her head held high. She wore a dark navy suit that was perfectly tailored to her athletic frame, and her crisp white shirt gave her a commanding presence. Her natural curls were carefully styled, framing her face with a sense of precision that mirrored the meticulous preparation she'd put into her presentation. Jade's confident stride echoed softly on the marble floor as she approached the long mahogany conference table, where the firm's partners sat waiting. The room was large, with floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the city skyline, but it felt smaller under the scrutinizing gazes of the three middle-aged men seated in front of her. Mr. Brady, the firm's senior partner, sat at the center, his gray hair neatly combed back, giving him an air of authority that he wore like armor. On either side were his colleagues, Mr. Harper, a heavy-set man with an impatient expression, and Mr. Wilson, whose bored eyes barely lifted from the papers in front of him. Jade's voice was clear and steady as she launched into her presentation, highlighting her years of experience in corporate law, her successful cases, and her innovative strategies that had saved her previous firm from several high-profile legal battles. She spoke of the countless hours she'd invested, her commitment to the law, and the unique perspectives she brought to the table. Yet, as she spoke, she noticed the men's reactions, or rather the lack thereof. Mr. Harper smirked as she mentioned her time at a top law school, while Mr. Wilson seemed more interested in his watch than her words. The first question came from Mr. Harper, and it was thinly veiled as legitimate. "How do you think you'd fit into a firm like this, given your background?" The way he said background made Jade's stomach tighten, but she kept her smile professional. She responded with a well-rehearsed answer about her ability to adapt to any environment and thrive, but his patronizing nod showed he was unimpressed. Mr. Wilson's turn was next, his tone dismissive. "You mentioned several high-profile cases, but weren't you just a junior associate at that time? How much influence did you really have?" Jade maintained her composure, explaining how her role, though junior, was instrumental in the outcomes. She detailed how she had led research, drafted critical documents, and negotiated settlements. But his half-hearted, "I see," told her he wasn't listening. As the questions continued, they grew more pointed, more condescending, and Jade could feel the heat rising in her cheeks. But she refused to show them any sign of frustration. Instead, she held her ground, answering each jab with facts, countering each snide remark with professionalism. Her exterior remained calm and collected, but inside, the fury was building. A flame fueled by years of microaggressions and prejudice she'd faced in the legal world. The final blow came from Mr. Brady. He leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms over his chest, and looked her up and down as if evaluating a product he wasn't interested in buying. "Let's be honest, Ms. Clark," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "The legal world isn't for people like you. Maybe you'd be better off in a more appropriate field." The words hung in the air like a dark cloud. Jade's fingers tightened around the edge of the folder she was holding, her knuckles whitening, but she didn't flinch. She wanted to shout, to argue, to throw his ignorant words back in his face, but she knew it would only confirm their biases. Instead, she nodded once, tightly, and gathered her documents with deliberate slowness, not giving them the satisfaction of seeing her rush. As she turned to leave, she forced her steps to remain measured, each click of her heels echoing with a dignity she refused to let them strip away. The door closed behind her with a soft thud, and she found herself alone in the hallway, the sterile fluorescent lights casting sharp shadows. Anger and humiliation surged within her, but she took a deep breath, channeling it into something stronger: resolve. Walking out of the building, the autumn air was cool against her face, calming her heated skin. Jade paused for a moment, staring at the city around her, and clenched her fists. They had dismissed her, undermined her, made assumptions about who she was and what she was capable of. But she wasn't going to let them win. If they couldn't see her value, she'd show them. Jade vowed, right there on the busy sidewalk, that she'd rise above their narrow-mindedness and prove them all wrong, one case at a time. She'd build her career, find allies who valued her skills, and become a force they'd never be able to ignore. Over the next 3 years, Jade Clark faced countless challenges. She was met with constant rejections. Some didn't even hide that the reason was her skin color or doubts about her capabilities, despite her education and experience. Jade often felt the disdainful looks and dismissive attitudes when she attended interviews or presented cases in court. There were moments when it seemed like the fight was futile, but her family kept her going, especially her brother, Alex, a strong-willed man who always believed in her abilities. He supported Jade through tough times, reminding her of her goals and encouraging her after each unsuccessful interview. It was Alex who pointed out that her path wasn't defined by others' opinions and gave her advice on staying motivated in moments of despair. Finally, Jade landed a job at a small law firm where her talents were quickly recognized. She started with simple cases, but her determination and ability to find creative solutions quickly made her an indispensable asset. Colleagues respected her willingness to take on the toughest cases, the ones other lawyers avoided due to their seeming hopelessness. Over time, her name became well known in legal circles as that of a lawyer who never gave up and always found the truth. Jade began speaking at conferences and seminars, raising important issues of discrimination and social justice. Her speeches drew attention because she spoke from personal experience, based on real situations she had faced over the years. She became not only a successful lawyer, but also an influential voice, discussing problems that many preferred to ignore. 3 years after the humiliating interview, the firm that once rejected Jade Clark faced serious problems. Several key partners left, taking with them significant contracts and connections, and the firm's reputation plummeted. Clients began to doubt the company's stability, and revenues started to decline. Mr. Brady, the only remaining partner from the old team, found himself in a desperate situation. Soon he learned that Jade Clark, whom they had once mocked, had become one of the most respected lawyers in the city. Her name was already associated with successful cases, complex legal battles, and unbreakable resilience. Jade frequently appeared in legal magazines and was invited to speak at major conferences. Brady realized that if anyone could save the firm, it was her. Reluctantly, he contacted Jade and suggested they meet. This time, the meeting took place in her office, spacious, bright, and elegantly decorated, a sharp contrast to the tense atmosphere of their previous interview. Brady, no longer as confident as before, was forced to admit that her influence and professionalism could bring back clients and restore the firm's reputation. He offered Jade a partnership, promising a significant share and influence over key firm decisions. Jade listened to his offer with an unreadable expression. Despite the past hurt, she understood that this was her chance not only to succeed, but to change the firm from the inside out. She agreed, but laid down strict conditions. Jade demanded full control over key areas of work, as well as the implementation of new policies focused on inclusivity and fighting discrimination. She was interested not only in professional recognition, but in changing the corporate culture of the firm so that no one else would have to go through what she had experienced. Mr. Brady, realizing he had no other choice, agreed to all her terms. Jade officially became a partner, but on her terms, initiating a transformation that would soon change not only the firm's internal culture but also its public perception. As a partner, Jade Clark launched a comprehensive transformation of the firm. She knew that the changes had to be radical to erase the shadow of the past and create a new corporate culture. The first step was attracting new talent. Jade hired young lawyers from diverse backgrounds, focusing not only on academic achievements, but also on personal potential and life experience. Her team became a reflection of the diversity that Jade always valued. To support the new hires, Jade implemented mentoring and training programs. Experienced lawyers helped young colleagues adapt, develop professional skills, and build careers. Jade personally oversaw many of these programs, passing on her knowledge and sharing her experiences so that every employee could feel supported and confident. She spoke openly about the challenges she had faced, highlighting the importance of mentorship and guidance in the early stages. Jade also introduced strict rules to eliminate any form of discrimination within the company. Anonymous channels for filing complaints and feedback were created so that every employee would feel protected. The firm's culture changed. Competence and professionalism were now valued, not biased stereotypes. The atmosphere became more welcoming and open, which attracted new clients who supported Jade's initiatives. Her success became widely recognized beyond the firm. Jade frequently spoke at conferences, sharing her story and inspiring women and minorities who, like her, had faced bias and discrimination. She became a symbol of change, demonstrating that perseverance and faith in justice could transform any system. Thanks to her leadership and successful reforms, the firm not only recovered, but also strengthened its reputation. A year later, Jade was recognized as the best young partner of the year. Her name became synonymous with innovation, inclusivity, and justice in the legal world. The firm that had once rejected her turned into an example for other law firms, showing that an inclusive corporate culture is not only the right thing to do, but also profitable.